Coming to our health hazard, which are hidden in the college dormitories, or we call it hostels, right? Let's have a look here. The quote saying that living in a dorm room is like living in a petri dish. Petri dish is actually a dish in which the bacteria are cultured. So, the why it is said so, because of the conditions so favorable for bacteria to grow there. Now, this is the first hazard I would like to bring to your notice, is that about the meningococcal meningitis. And meningitis is nothing but a inflammation of the covers of the brain. And this is extremely dangerous. Meningitis could be bacterial, could be viral, could be fungal. But especially I would like to bring to your notice about the meningococcal meningitis. This is an extremely dangerous infection, right? It will appear like a flu, right? But especially these bacteria, they cultivate, they grow in the favorable conditions like dormitories or hostels. And these germs are passed through the saliva of the diseased person. But apart from that, if you know the fact that this meningococcus, or we call it Neisseria meningitidis, is a bacterial name, it resides in 15 to 20% of healthy people. They don't suffer from this disease, but they are carriers and they can infect others, right? And how do you transmit this disease? This is transmitted through your saliva, through kissing or sharing the glasses, for instance, right? And especially students living in dormitories have been shown to have almost maximum to 23-fold higher risk than those staying in other accommodations. And these are a few of the symptoms, which are triad of symptoms, which we call as fever, neck stiffness, and even altered mental status. But it's very difficult to diagnose in the first place, right? Why it is dangerous? It's a very serious infection because it can cause death within 24 hours. And despite the best of the antibiotics treatment, it is up to 40%. Who are affected by this disease can die. And those who survive, 11 to 19% of them remain with the complications such as hearing loss or neurological disability or even loss of limb. So this is a very serious disease. So what are the solutions? Solutions are, of course, you have to be preventive in terms of you always wash hands and wash hands frequently. Wipe down shared surfaces. Avoid close contact with someone who's sick. Eat healthy and get plenty of sleep, because deprivation of sleep will ultimately compromise your immunity, and immunity is your inborn ability to fight infections. And this is a vaccine preventable disease, so one must get vaccinated. Coming to the next hazard, is again a very important hazard, that is HIV and substance abuse. And if you've seen in the United States, that if you've seen the youth between the age group of 13 and 24 are accounted for an estimated 26% of all new HIV infections, and 50% of all these youth aged 12 to 20 are reported to have alcohol abuse. 10% of the youth aged between 12 and 17 said they were current users of illicit drugs. Now, what happens with these people? Especially this substance abuse has been linked to HIV infection, which is transmitted through parenteral route or sexually transmitted, one of the sexually transmitted diseases, right? Because of both casual and chronic substance users are more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors such as sex without condom, or we call it unprotected sexual intercourse, when they are under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So, friends, you must take care of yourself. The hazard, cold and flu. This is a hostel room is a perfect breeding ground for flu and common cold virus. Remember, these are viral infections, right? And they're highly contagious infections. According to CDC, or most reported cases of swine flu in 2009 were in the age group of 5 to 24 bracket, where there were 26.7 cases per 1 lakh people. Now, what is the solution? Hand washing has been proven to be very useful. Now, only in this particular case of viral flu, right, viral infections, say no to your hand sanitizers, because hand sanitizers do not take care of the viruses on your hands and fingers. So always wash your hands with foam. The hazard, mold. Now, students actually need not worry about a little, mildew, or we call it the growth of the mold on the shower curtain, etc., etc. But you'd be very particular about the growth of this mold on the walls, right? And they're extremely hazardous to your health. Molds are nothing but fungus. Mold can be particularly problematic for those who suffer from allergic disorders like allergic bronchitis or bronchial asthma or other respiratory conditions. Now, what are the solutions for this? The mold thrives in warm, wet conditions. This is a favorable condition for these molds to grow. And so small-scale cases typically can be prevented by keeping your clothes, bathrooms, and kitchen areas dry, or keep it properly ventilated. That is another solution to this. Coming to the next hazard is a binge drinking, and even the conditions for you are also favorable in certain aspects, like absence of parents, right? And that turn newly unleashed fresh pain, getting indulged into drinking, right? And drinking to excess is extremely dangerous and potentially fatal to your health, right? It has been shown that for every 5 drinks a student has per drinking occasion, his or her grade point average is lowered by half a grade. According to a paper published by impacting a research partnership at the University of Illinois and Chicago, this is the case. What is the solution? It is important to know your own limits, right? Of course, the handling alcohol depends and varies on size and weight and the ability of your liver to metabolize the ethanol, right? And to see the fact, it takes a liver 1 hour to process 1 drink, which is equivalent to roughly 120 ml of wine, 360 ml of beer, or 30 ml of hard drink. Coming to the next hazard is the bed bugs. We all know what are the bed bugs, right? So what is the solution for the bed bugs? And first and foremost thing about the bed bugs is avoiding used furniture and carefully checking luggage after traveling, right? Because to get rid of bed bugs is extremely difficult and it's very expensive as well. Sleep deprivation, I talked to you earlier about sleep deprivation, how it affects your immunity, right? You have to be extremely careful as far as your sleep is concerned. Get good night's sleep, right? And especially the students, they are notorious for pulling all-nighters to finish your papers and projects, etc., etc., etc. So try to establish a routine sleeping pattern, right? And abstain from long naps, or try to avoid coffee drinks or caffeine drinks or energy drinks or exercise at least for several hours prior to going to bed.